Hello and welcome to Hexed Encountered. My name is Joe. I am going to be playing the game March Madness from Avalon Hill. This game is from 1990, so it's a bit long in the tooth, you might say. But since this is NCAA tournament time, I figured it would be good to do a little bit with this game that I've had sitting on my shelf for over 3 decades now. So what we're going to do here is I am going to actually replay the 1982 championship game between North Carolina and Georgetown. And I have their team cards right here. Now, you might be familiar if you're, a history aficionado, or maybe you remember this or whatever. But North Carolina in 82, they were pretty loaded. They had Sam Perkins, they had James Worthy, they had Matt Doherty, who later was a coach for them. They also had a guy named Michael Jordan, who was a freshman. And the other guard was Jimmy Black. They had the all-time great coach, Dean Smith, running things. And then they were taking on the Georgetown Hoyas, who had a freshman of their own by the name of Patrick Ewing. And they also had Mike Hancock, Anthony Jones, Eric Smith, and Sleepy Floyd, who would also go on to play in the NBA. Now you can see both teams, they were coached, I should mention this since I mentioned Dean Smith. Georgetown had an all-time great coach of its own in the late, great John Thompson, also a Hall of Famer, just like Dean Smith. Both of these guys have coach ratings of 4, which is the highest you can get in the game. At the bottom, you see this number 86. Both teams have an 86. That's even. That's their team rating. The highest team rating is a 100. There are some teams in the 60 team cards that come with the game or came with the game back in the early 90s that are 100s. There are a handful of those. 76 Indiana, I know, is one. I believe the 58 Kansas team that had Wilt Chamberlain is also a 100. There are some other ones as well. Some of the UCLA teams as well. I know, are also 100s. You have to designate someone as being a favorite or the underdog. Typically you would just take the higher rated team. They're both 86s. So what I'm going to do is we're going to say that North Carolina, which won the game in real life, will be evens, and Georgetown will be odds, and I'm going to roll to see which one is designated the favorite. So North Carolina, since we rolled a 4, North Carolina will be the favorite. Georgetown will be the underdog. So you put the team cards in the team card spot. Okay, now if you didn't watch the retro first look video I did on this game, you might want to check that out. I did kind of talk about the mechanics. I think I messed it up a little bit though. I did reread the rules so that I would have an idea of what the heck I'm doing, because it has been a long time since I played this game. But this game was a game that I really enjoyed back in the early 90s, and it's kind of nice to revisit some of these classic games that I have not touched in forever. And I may do this more often. I do have a lot of older sports games. So you start in the 20-minute mark. I'm just going to use, these are actually events from the basic game, event counters, and yeah, I know they're not clipped, but I don't usually clip my counters, so sue me. So each team gets a timeout. Each team has 4 coaching moves because their coaches are rated as 4s. Then we have a strategy card deck. Each team gets 7 cards. So I'm going to deal them out. And 7. All right. So each team gets 7 strategy cards. I don't really need to hide them. So there are 3 types of cards. There's offense, defense, and coaching. So here we have a coaching card, full court press. These are North Carolina's cards. You can see all scoring die rolls of 3 or 4 for both sides are re-rolled once unless voided by good ball handling. And then you have the die with a 1 on it would be a defensive foul. They also have offense, key sixth man. So you have these phrases here. It kind of applies, but like three-pointer, for example, there wasn't a three-pointer back then, but what that does is improves the scoring grade of some of the players. So you can remove a foul at the position. So if I wanted to play this card, I would pick a position, and let's say I wanted to remove a foul from Michael Jordan. He's LG, which is left guard. You just put this here, and you would play it face down, so the opponent can't see it. Since I don't have an opponent, because I'm playing solitaire, I'm just going to put it down face up when I play it. Then we have offense three-pointer, which I just mentioned. This upgrades you by 1 letter grade or 2 if the opponent is playing zone defense, which is a coaching card. We have another offense, clutch free throws, 4 points for each foul on an opposing position, even if the foul is removed, never doubled or voided. So that can never be voided, and it cannot be doubled. Some can be doubled, as we mentioned with the three-pointer. Another three-pointer, so they have 2 of those. Then they have a defense card. Defensive intensity, both players suffer a -2 DRM, and you can see a 1 or a 2 is a defensive foul. So when you roll, you play this on a position, and then, so if you had, say, a really good scorer on the other team, and neither of these teams actually has a premier scorer, you might say, hey, wait a minute, North Carolina has James Worthy and Michael Jordan, and yeah, they do, and Georgetown has Patrick Ewing, but they played a very team-oriented game, and though those guys were the better scorers on the teams, they weren't AA scorers, which is the highest rating. You can see Perkins, Worthy, and Jordan are all C's, and on Georgetown, Patrick Ewing and Sleepy Floyd are C's. So C is kind of like average. They're going to, a good roll for them will give them a big number, and we'll get into that in a bit. But they don't have a AA like a Will Chamberlain who can, put up 27 points and a half. Then we have defense altered shot. So again, you can play this on a position and it will be a -1 DRM. And possibly a defensive foul if you roll a 1. So let's look at Georgetown's cards. Georgetown gets taking a charge. So you can see all of everything but a 3 is a foul, and 4, 5, 6 is an offensive foul. 1 and 2 is a defensive foul. So again, these are things that you need to consider: how to use, where to use, when to use, etc. We get the blocked shot, which is a negative DRM, possible defensive foul, also possible goaltending. Offense, working it inside, gives you a +1 DRM and a possibility of picking up a foul as well. Defense, forcing turnovers, -2 DRM to the opposing player's score. So they have a lot of defensive cards. 3 out of the 4 I've seen so far are defensive cards for Georgetown. And yet another defensive card, controlling the boards. Voids opposing fast break at any position, and a -1 DRM to opposing second shots. These are all pretty useful cards. It seems that at least initially they're going to be playing, they have a second block shot card. They're going to be playing a more defensive-oriented game. They also did not draw a coaching card. They do have offense alley-oop. Honestly, this kind of feels like this is a pretty good draw for Georgetown because of Patrick Ewing. They have 2 blocked shots, working it inside, controlling the boards, and an alley-oop. All of those make me think of Patrick Ewing in his heyday. So once we've done all this, now we can get ready to begin. So you start with the favorite. The favorite will go first. And the way this works is you roll the number of dice that correspond to the minute of the half that you're in. So we're in the first minute, obviously, so that's 20. So there's 5. 20, 19, 18, you'll roll 5 dice, then it goes to 4, down to 3, down to 2, down to 1 once you get down towards closer to the end of the half. So you're going to roll 5 dice. And the white die, and this is one thing I screwed up in my first look, the white die is the key die. That's going to pick a position based on these numbers, 1 through 6. So the way this works is you have to exceed the number. So in this case, it would be 20. You have to exceed that number, not equal it and not be below it. If you exceed it, then you're going to resolve one of your 6 positions. If you don't exceed it, then you have the option to play strategy cards, roll for a new strategy card, and other things. There's, I think, 5 different things you can do in that case. Yeah, so the things you can do if you roll equal or less than the number here is you can play a strategy card in the coaching box or any of the positions. You can reveal an opponent's played card by making it face up, but that does not activate it. So you just reveal it so you know what they have. Because as I mentioned, in a 2-player game, the cards are played face down, so you don't know what your opponent is holding there. You can withdraw a card that you've already played. You can, if it hasn't been used, you can pull it out. You can discard a card and draw a new one. Or you can attempt to roll a 5 or 6 to draw an additional card. So in theory, you can go over 7. So we're going to roll here for Georgetown. So if these 5 dice add up to 21 or higher, then we'll resolve a position. And that position will be determined by the white die. If it's 20 or less, then we can do something with strategy cards. So let's roll. Okay, so we've got 3, 7, 12, 15, 17. So we didn't hit 21. Therefore, we are able to play a strategy card if we wish. So I am going to put offense 3-pointer on Michael Jordan. And I'm going to leave it face up because, like I said, I'm playing solitaire. So we'll move this to 19, and we move over to Georgetown, and we do the same thing. They also did not roll 21. I'm not even going to add it up because that is clearly not 21. So they're going to go down to 19 as well. We're going to play a defense blocked shot. Since we have 2 of them, we'll put that on Patrick Ewing. All right, so now we go back to North Carolina, and this is how the game flows. And once we resolve all 6 boxes, then we go to halftime. Okay, so this also will not be higher than 19. That looks like that's a 13. So let's see if we can roll a 5 or 6 and draw another card. Why not? Nope. All right, so they do nothing that turn, essentially. And I just moved this, which I did not want to do. I'm trying to be as tight as possible for you guys so I don't have to reset, my shot, zoom in, etc., etc. All right, let's roll a, so this goes to 18, and they're going to roll now Georgetown. All right, we got it. So this is going to be 15, 22, 5, 5, 5, 6, and 1 is 22. And so they now get to resolve position number 6, which is the bench. So position 6 is the bench. Okay, now you look in the box here, it says foul trouble, -1 letter grade. We don't have any fouls yet. Foul out, bench or original rating, -1 letter, whichever is worse. So we don't have any foul issues. Okay, so we're going to look at our ratings here. Now, both teams have a defensive grade of A. So we're going to be rolling in opposing defense A. Now, the bench grade for Georgetown is a C. So we look at C and we roll 1 die and we see what we get here. It's going to be from 3 to 11 because we don't have any DRMs that would make it a 0 or a 7. So let's roll our white die and we get a 1. So their bench gets 3 points. Okay, so they get 3 points, and now we'll roll for North Carolina. They get a 6. Their bench, though, is an E. So E6 is 5. So it's 5-3 in favor of North Carolina, and we need to mark these as having been resolved. So I'm going to actually use, we'll put a counter in here to indicate that that position has been resolved. It's now 5-3 through 18 minutes. So now we're going to go to 17. No, I'm sorry. We're at 18 still. This is the last time we roll 5. And they've got 16, 19, 21. So they are over as well, and they get position 3. So that's the right forward. So that's going to be Matt Doherty for North Carolina and Anthony Jones for Georgetown. Doherty's a D, Jones is an E. So we don't have anything in these, no strategies involved for either of those two positions. Now you do have the option here of calling a timeout, which would let you re-roll once you see the result. So if I rolled really well for one side or the other, you could use a timeout to make them re-roll. You can only do that once per half, though. So you may or may not want to do that. Okay, so let's roll for North Carolina. So we're rolling for Doherty. We're rolling for Doherty, and we're still in opposing defense A. So he rolled a 4. So he's a D, and a D4 is 5. So North Carolina is at 10 now. Now we'll roll for Georgetown, and they get a 5. And Jones is an E, and E5 is a 4. So it is 10-7 now in favor of North Carolina. And we mark the right forward as having been resolved as well. So you get the idea. This is how the game plays out. Now, we move down to 17. So on our next turn, we're going to be using only 4 dice and not 5. So now let's roll for Georgetown. And they are also going to be able to resolve because they have 10, 15, 20. They have 20. Let me move this down to 17 for next turn. And the position is 6, which we already resolved. So when you've already resolved the position, then obviously you can't resolve it again. So what happens is you go back to those 5 different actions you can take. Or you can pick another position to resolve. So what we can do here is we could say, let's resolve our center and have Perkins and Ewing get resolved. And they can use this blocked shot card. So let's just assume that we're going to do that. All right. So before we roll, let's look at this card again. All right. So you get a -2 DRM. So we're going to put a -2 on Sam Perkins. But if we roll a 1 or a 2, Patrick Ewing's going to get a foul. And if we roll a 6, it becomes a goaltending. And we add 1 to Sam Perkins' roll instead of removing 2. So it's a bit of a risk reward here. We have a 50-50 chance of this actually being something positive for Georgetown. So as the score is currently 10-7, we're going to resolve our center. So we'll roll first for Georgetown, and we get a 4. Now Ewing is a C, so we're still in opposing offense A. C4 is 7. So that's going to put Georgetown at 14. Now we'll roll for North Carolina. They get a 5, but a 5 is not one of the bad numbers to roll. So it actually worked out. So that becomes a 3 because we have to apply the -2 DRM. So he's a C, and 3 against A is 5. So it's 15-14 in favor of North Carolina. We can move this card out because it's been used now. And we put a couple more markers down on our center to indicate center has been resolved. It's 15-14 in favor of North Carolina. And we go on to the next turn. And that's the way the game works. So let's now, because we're at 17, we go down to 4 dice. So I'm going to remove the gold die. And we just have 4 here. So we're just rolling these 4 guys. And the magic number is 17, and we did not hit that. We've got 8, 11, 12. So let's talk about free moves. So you have 4 coaching moves. Each team has 4 coaching moves because of the strength of their coach. It also reflects things like team cohesion and so on and so forth. Clutch play, things like that. It's kind of a somewhat amorphous thing that encompasses all the intangibles, so to speak. So we have our coaching moves track. So you can make a regular move like before in the previous turn when Georgetown played their card and we resolved center, they could have said, well, I'm going to play a coaching move as well and put a coaching card out. Because they can use the coaching move track or play a card because they have the option to do that. It's called a free move, and you get 4 of those when you have a coach rating of 4. If you had a slightly less skilled coach, like 82 Houston, their guy Lewis's rating is 3. So they would have 3 if we were playing with Houston, which was also a really good team. That was the team that won the championship the following season that had Akeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler on the team, along with Larry Michaud and a few other guys. An excellent, Phi Slamma Jamma. You remember those guys. So let's just say that we're going to put, we're going to use coaching. We're going to put a coaching move out for this one, and we're going to put the full court press on. So all scoring die rolls of 3 or 4 for both sides are re-rolled once unless voided by good ball handling. Okay. Looking at both, neither team has a good ball handling card. So that card is not going to be, used. And now I could use a free move if I wanted to. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it on my left forward, James Worthy, defense altered shot. So now we're going to move this down to 16. And now we're going to roll for Georgetown. And so it's still 15-14, North Carolina. And they did not exceed the roll either. They got 6, 8, 9. So they can't resolve anything either. They do not have any cards, coaching cards rather. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll a die to determine what card they're going to play, since I know what their cards are for both sides. It's a 6. So that is defense controlling the boards. So I'm going to put that on... put that on the left guard, which is Jordan. Because in theory, they don't know what this is. So we'll just do it that way. So they're down to 16 now, and we go back over to North Carolina. They get 9, 12, 14. We are at 16, so that does not exceed. I'm going to draw a strategy card. And we get a coaching tight man-to-man, all remaining opposing positions, -1 DRM. That's actually pretty good. And I forgot to move this down to 3, since I did use 1. So we'll put that out, and then we go over, move this down to 15. Go back to Georgetown, roll again. We get what's that, 11, 14, 15. So it just misses again. They're going to draw a card too, because they don't have any coaching cards. They get offense posting up. And so that's they now have 3 offense and 3 defense cards in their hand. And they go down to 15 as well. Move on. This is the last of the 4 die rolls. And they get a scoring roll here. This is North Carolina. They've got a 15. And it's a 5. So the right guard, which is Jimmy Black and Sleepy Floyd. So Jimmy Black's an E. Sleepy Floyd is a C. Okay, so Sleepy Floyd's actually a pretty good scorer, which was definitely the case. Sleepy Floyd was a very good player in college and a pretty decent NBA player as well. So we're going to roll for these guys here. So we'll do North Carolina first. So it's an E against the opposing defense A. So let's just roll it. And he gets a 6, which is a good roll. So he gets a 6. E6 is 5 points. So that's 20 now for North Carolina. Now, I could play a timeout, and I'm going to do that. We're going to play the timeout for Georgetown. So Georgetown has used its timeout, and they're going to make Jimmy Black roll again, and he rolled a 6 again, so it stays 20. So wasted timeout. They're going to go down to 14. We have to resolve Sleepy Floyd now, who's a C. Now, we do have our full court press in. So if we roll a 3 or 4 for both sides. Yeah, okay. So, and we rolled a 6 for him as well. So he's a C. So a C6 is an 11. So it's 25 to 20. 25-20. Now Georgetown is up. And we have resolved our right guard. So we'll mark them done as well. He goes down to 14. Now we're rolling 3 dice. So I'm going to remove the red one. I'm going to roll 3 dice, and we get an 11. So no, it's not over the number there. I'm going to swap out this card for the tight man-to-man. So that is a -1 DRM to the opposing positions, but you can also get a defensive foul. So that moves them down to 13. We still have 2 positions to resolve: the left forward and the left guard. They get a 10, which is also not going to do them any good. So we will... I just realized I should not have been able to draw a card. I was supposed to toss a card and draw another card. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to throw out... I'm going to throw out my key 6th man for North Carolina, and I'm going to throw out the taking a charge for Georgetown, and I'm going to play this card, the defense forcing turnovers, on the left forward. And so now we'll go on. Both are at 13. It's 25 to 20 in favor of Georgetown. That is a 7, which is not going to be good enough. So we'll roll to see if we can draw another card. And we can't. All right, so they go to 12. Georgetown rolls a 15. And the white die is a 5, which is already resolved. So they're going to switch it up, and they're going to resolve... No, let's resolve this one because we get a -2 DRM. So we're going to resolve the left forward, which is Worthy and Mike Hancock. So let's roll for Georgetown first. Georgetown rolls a 4. Hancock is an E, and a 4 for an E is 3. So they're at 28. Now we'll roll for North Carolina. They roll a 6. That's not a foul. 1 or a 2 would have been a foul. So, oh, wait. They should have gotten a 3 because they have a card as well. So, a 3 for an E is 3 points. Yeah, so it's actually 2 points. So they have 27. Georgetown has 27. They get a -2. So that's a 4, and Worthy's a C. A C4 is 7. So it's 27 to 27. We have a tie. Both these cards are now used. Put a couple more markers out, and we'll roll. We're now down to 12 for both teams. We're still rolling 3. And we only have the left guard to resolve. And we get a 10, so that is not going to do it. So let's roll to see if we can draw another card for North Carolina, and we don't. All right. So now they are at 11. Let's roll for Georgetown. They rolled a 6. That is also not going to do it. So they will also try to get another card, and they do. So they draw a card. Coaching. They finally get a coaching card. Injury. So this is an interesting card to play because if you play this card, come on, you roll dice, and if it's even, somebody gets hurt. So this is an interesting card to have. Okay, I reset the shot a little bit so that we could get this in, move that down to 11, make sure everything else is, in shot and everything. You get a little bit better view of the dice tower as well. So we're back to the North Carolina side. We only have the left guard position left to resolve. So we are rolling 3 dice. This is the last turn of 3 dice. And we get an 11, which is equal to the number on there, which means we can't actually do anything there. So let us roll 1 die. And we got a 5. I was rolling to get a new card. I didn't spit that out fast enough, but we did. We get altered shot defense. Okay. So now let's roll. Move this down to 10. Let's roll for Georgetown. And they get a 13, so that is good enough to activate, even though our die is on 6. The white die is 6, so it should be the bench, already resolved. We're going to opt to resolve the left guard. So defense controlling the boards, that's actually not going to take effect here. The offense three-pointer for North Carolina is going to take effect, however. And this is actually going to end up being the last roll of the first half. So we do get a -1 DRM from our coaching card. So let's roll for Georgetown. This is Eric Smith and Michael Jordan. So Eric Smith first, he rolls a 6. He rolls a 6, and they get a -1 DRM, which would make it a 5. But Dean Smith is going to call a timeout here. So let me put this down here too, so that they have to re-roll. So North Carolina has to re-roll, or Georgetown rather, and this time he rolled a 2, which with the -1 DRM becomes a 1. And Eric Smith is a D, and a D with a 1 against offense A is only 1 point. So Georgetown is up 28-27, but we now have to resolve Michael Jordan, and he has the offense three-pointer card. So he's going to upgrade 1 letter grade. So he's a C. He's going to become a B for this roll. And we get a 5. Now, Georgetown already expended their timeout. They can't do anything about this. So rolled a 5. He's a B. That's 11 points. So at the half, it's 38. It's North Carolina 38 and Georgetown 28. So that is the end of the first half. 38-28, North Carolina. I'm going to remove these cards now because they've been used. And we will reset for the second half. Because once you've resolved all of the positions, the half is over. So we go back up here. I'm going to remove all of these to show that these are now available again. We'll give both teams their timeout back. So I played the first half basically playing both teams. Now there is a solitaire rules section here in our rule book. Section 15 here you see solitaire play. Solitaire play is handled as in a 2-participant game, except that all cards are played face up, which I've been doing anyway. Scoring resolution. So, you can actually draw, it says during preparation, it says draw 4 extra cards for the solitaire team. And then in scoring resolution, the solitaire team will always pick a position to resolve if the clock dice roll permits it. Continue to roll until it selects a position that has not yet been resolved. So it says you can, for more challenging, you can always select a position to be resolved that is in the solitaire team's best interest. All strategy cards are played face up. This is under the strategy card section here. The solitaire team cards are drawn randomly. If they can be played on more than one position, they're always played on the opposing team's best scorer yet to be resolved, if defensive or on their own, if offensive. So I'm actually going to play it this way now that we have a situation. I'm going to play as Georgetown because they're losing by 11, and let the solitaire handle. I'm going to use the solitaire rules to handle North Carolina. This way you can kind of see, the two-handed way to play it, which was the first half, and this second half will be using the game's solitaire rules, which are pretty simple. So I'm just going to give North Carolina four extra cards here, and I'm actually going to turn the cards up. I'm going to actually put them in this way, and I'm going to actually kind of shuffle them up a little bit. I'm just going to leave them there, and it says to play them randomly, so I'm just going to pull one off the top, and that'll be the random play. So the underdog will play first. The favorite played first in the first half. So we're back to using 5 dice. We're back on the 20-minute mark. So what we're going to do is we're going to roll our 5 dice here. And we didn't get a 20. We did get 10, 15, 18. We did get a 20, but not a 21. So what we will do is we're going to play this coaching injury card. Why not? Okay. So this gets discarded after use, and I roll one die. And it's an even, so that's going to affect North Carolina. I forgot to remove this. So I roll again to find out which position, and it's 3, which is right forward. So that is Matt Doherty. Okay, so when you have an injury, so what happens when an injury occurs is that it's treated the same as fouling out, which I didn't really discuss either because it didn't happen. But basically, the player gets replaced by the bench grade. Now, the bench grade for North Carolina is an E. Doherty's a D, so they go down 1 grade. So when Doherty's position right forward comes up, we're going to roll a... we're going to give them 1 extra... We're going to degrade them by 1 letter grade. I'm just going to put this foul counter on here so I'll remember. That way I can know for sure what we're doing. So we discard this card, and that ends the Georgetown turn. And now we go to North Carolina. They get 9, 11, 12, 14. So they do not get anything either. Let's draw a random strategy card. We flip it over. It's coaching full court press. So they're going to drop this one and use the full court press. So all scoring rolls of 3 or 4 for both sides are re-rolled unless voided by good ball handling. So they go to 19, back to Georgetown. And we get 7. Yeah, well, it's 2, 3, 5, 9, 12. So nothing there. Let's put in alley-oop. So another thing I didn't mention in the first half is these colored dots. They tell you what positions you can play this card on. So this card can be played on the center or the forward, left forward, basically center, power forward. So we're going to put this on Mr. Ewing. And then, that way next turn, we'll be able to, when he comes up, we'll get a +1 DRM unless they have a zone defense. Okay, so this time we're going to actually have something happen, I think. 15, nope, 19. It's exactly 19, so not quite. So we're going to pull another random strategy card for them. Offense, super effort. Upgrade any one position by 1 letter grade. So they have 3 guys who are C's in Perkins, Worthy, and Jordan. So let's upgrade Perkins to a B to kind of help offset the fact that they're getting a +1 DRM on Patrick Ewing. Now, in a 2-player game, both of these cards will be played face down, and neither guy would know what the other team's card is. So let's go back to Georgetown, and they also do not get a number high enough to resolve a position. So we need to, let's see. Let's roll for another card, I think. Actually, no. We're going to play our other blocked shot card, and we'll play it on the left forward to help us with the fact that Worthy is one of their better players. So that now we're down to rolling 4 dice when we get back to Georgetown. So this will be our last 5 die roll. We get 11, 14, 16, 17. So still no love there. Let's pull another strategy card. Defense altered shot. Okay, so let's play that on the right guard because they have Sleepy Floyd. And we're trying to make this as defendable as possible. So they go to 17 as well. Now we're going to ditch the gold die. We're rolling 4, and we got a 14. So we've got 2 6s, but we got 1s on the other 2 die, so we still can't resolve a position. I'm going to roll 1 die to draw another card, and don't get it. You need a 5 or a 6. So this goes to 16, and we go over to North Carolina. They get a 13. So they're going to play another card. clutch free throws. 4 points for each foul on opposing position, even if foul is removed. So let's play that on our right forward, who's actually let's play it on the bench. Play it on the bench. I need to take that out as well. All right. So they're at 16. Let's roll for North Carolina. Oh, that was North Carolina. That's right. So this is for Georgetown. They've got 10, 16. So now that's even. So again, we can't resolve anything. I'm going to roll for another card again. Just why not? And don't get it. So we'll go back now to, that goes to 15. Back to North Carolina. That's a 14, which is still not good enough. So this is their, they do have a few cards left. Defense can be played on any position here. So defensive intensity, both players suffer a -2 DRM. We're going to play that here. We'll play that there. And that moves them to 15. So now, last roll with 4 for Georgetown, and they still rolling badly. Don't get anything. So I'm going to put this offense here. And that goes to 14. We've not resolved anything yet. So now for North Carolina, they get a 9, 10, 11. So they also don't resolve anything. We're running out of spots to put cards. Coaching, slow tempo. All remaining positions on both teams modify their scoring roll by 1. All right, so that comes out. This gets played. And now we go to 3 dice. So we're going to pull the red die out. And we get an 18. So we finally get to resolve a position. And that position is the bench, because the white die is a 6. So we're looking at bench. So the bench for Georgetown has a grade of C. And we're going to roll it against here. So we're in row C, and we're going to roll 1 die. And we get a 2. And a 2 for C is 4. So that 38-27 score is now 38-31. And now we roll for North Carolina, and they get a 3, and their bench is an E, and E3 is 2. So they are at 40. So it is 40-31 in favor of North Carolina. We resolved the bench, so this goes away. That goes down to 13. Now we roll for North Carolina. They get a 16, and again it's a 6, so they're going to get to pick which one they want to resolve. And we are going to resolve center. Okay, so we're going to resolve center right now while we can. Let me mark this as being resolved so I don't forget. So it is 40-31. We're going to resolve center. We'll roll for North Carolina first. They get a 3. So he's going to get upgraded to a B. So a B3 is 7 points for North Carolina. So they're up to 48. So it's 48-31. And now we'll roll for Georgetown. And they roll a 4, and he's a C. So C4 is 7. So it's 48-38. 48-38. They could play their timeout, but we won't. 48-38. So these 2 cards get removed. Both these guys get a marker. And we move on back to Georgetown. 48-38. That's an 11, so that's not going to be good enough for Georgetown. Let's play. We're going to play posting up. And I forgot to apply this. And I forgot to apply that, so that would actually make it 47-37. All right. Back to North Carolina. 12. So that's even with what, well, it's actually less because it was 13. So we're going to pull a card. We get defense, key steal, -1 opposing player, +1 own player. We'll put that on Jordan. Okay, we'll put that on Jordan. Yeah, we'll put it on Jordan. That's fine. All right, so now we are in our last roll for 3 dice, and we get a 12, which is a tie, so it's not resolved. So I'm going to, we get a new card. All right, we draw a coaching card, boxing 1, which marks, oh, wow. That's a good one. That's actually a good one to have. All right, so they're at 11 now. And now we'll roll for North Carolina. And it's a 7, so they also don't get to do anything. They get offense 3-pointer, so we'll put that on Worthy, which will upgrade him by a letter grade. And so now we go to 2 dice. Actually, no, this is the last roll for 3 dice. Georgetown rolls a 10, so that's not good enough. I'm going to roll... you know what? I'm going to play this. And we get to mark him with an air ball. So I have to find an air ball. The air ball shit here. Here we go. So let's put this on Jordan. Okay, so what that does is it voids all his offense cards, which he has a defense card. And it gives them a -1 DRM, but all the other positions will get a +1 DRM. So it's kind of a, a little bit of a mix and match here. So that's 10. It remains 47-37. Back to North Carolina, they roll in 11, which is equal. So, but they're out of cards, so let's roll for a new card. Didn't get it. All right, so they're not doing anything. So they are now at 10. Now we're down to 2 dice. So we're going to use the black and the white. We get an 7 rather, so that's not going to resolve anything. Roll to see if I can get a new card. I do. We get a defense double team card. Now let's roll for North Carolina. We get an 8. It's nothing. Roll again. We get a 2, so still nothing. Now we roll 2 dice again for Georgetown. We get a 9, which is, again, even, so not really useful. I'll put my defense double team on the only other spot that's left. And now we go to North Carolina. We roll a 6. They can't do anything. They don't get a new card. Down to 8. 4, so that's still nothing. Roll for a card. This is ridiculous that I can't get a... We do get a new card. Pick and roll, but I can't use it right now. 6. So again, nope. And now we roll back to Georgetown. They get a 7, which is even, which still results in nothing. So, yeah, I'm just going to, I guess I'll roll for a new card and don't get it. So they're down to 6. And they get a 7, so I keep rolling even, but that's not what I need. I need lower, above it. So we'll roll for a new card for them. They don't get one. All right, so we get an 8. So we finally get to resolve something, and we're resolving position number 3. So right forward. So both players get a -2 DRM here. But this is actually we're going to resolve Georgetown first. So they get a +1 DRM. We roll 1 die, we get a 4, so that becomes a 5. Now, we didn't roll a 5, so I'm going to say that that doesn't come into effect. We're just going to get the +1. So the +1 on the 4, it's now a 5. Anthony Jones is an E, so we look at E. 5 is 4. So Georgetown gets 4 more points. It's now 47-41. And now we roll, actually, no, because this offsets, and it wasn't a 1 or 2, so there's no foul on either side, so we get a +1 and then a -2, so that 4 actually becomes a 3. And a 3 for E is only 2 points, so it's actually 47-39. Now we roll for North Carolina, 4. Now this is an E, because Matt Doherty is injured. So E, and it's a 4, so it becomes a 2. They get 1 point. So it's 48-39. 48-39. This comes off. And both get marked. Just take that off. Okay. So they are down to 5 now. Now we roll for them. They get a 6. Again, that's nothing. We're going to have to roll to see if we get a new card, and we can't. So now we're down to 5, and now we're rolling 1 die. So we're only rolling the white die, and we get a 5, which is still nothing. So let's roll again to see if we get a new card, or I could play this card. Yeah, I'm going to remove this, and I'm going to play this instead. So we'll just do that. All right, so now we're rolling for North Carolina, 3. Again, that's nothing. They still don't get anything. A 6, so we do get to resolve something. We already resolved 6, so let's resolve. We'll resolve left guard. We'll resolve left guard because we do have this, the box in 1. We mark an opposing player, and I forgot to apply the +1 over there. So sorry about that. But basically, according to this, we have a mark 1 opposing play with an airball marker, which I did on Jordan. Voids all his offense cards. He doesn't have an offense card. Gives him a -1 DRM. All other positions get a +1, and it's usable once per half. So this card is going to go away, and we're just going to give Jordan a -1 DRM on his roll. But this is actually their roll first, so we're going to roll, and he gets a +1 DRM. So his 5 becomes a 6. This is Eric Smith. He's a D, and his 6 gives them 6 more, so that makes it 48-45. 48-45. Now Jordan rolls. He had key steal. So instead of that being a 6, it would have been, so it's actually 48-43. 48-43. And we actually rolled a defensive foul, now that I look at it, because I rolled a 5. So what happens when you roll a foul? So what a foul does is it puts the player in foul trouble. So you would put this marker on him. However, they have a timeout, so he's going to use his timeout and make him re-roll. And we rolled a 4, so that time it doesn't count. Now the DRMs will cancel each other out and it stays a 4. So as I mentioned before, Eric Smith's a D, so D4 is 5 points, so they now have 44. So it's 48-44. And we have to resolve Jordan, who gets a +1, but he also gets a -1. So they also cancel out. So whatever he rolls here, he gets a 1. So he's a C. C1 is 3. So it's 51-44. 51-44. This is now resolved. It is now resolved. Both these guys are resolved. So we have the left forward and right guard left to do. And so that was their turn. So now we are back on North Carolina. They don't get anything. Let's roll again. So they get to draw a card. They get defense, key, steal. So we're going to hold that because You can't draw it and then play it in the same turn. So they're at 3 now. 6. So we're going to resolve again, and this time we'll resolve our left forward. So, and we moved the wrong guys. Oh, shoot. How did I do this where I like cross? Man, I screwed this up. Sorry, guys. I really screwed this up. So that stays. Upgrade 1 letter grade. So he rolled a 1 with a -1 DRM. So his letter grade went from a C to a B. A B with a 0 is 2 points. So it's actually 53 to 44. 53-44. And what were I think this was him and this was him. So that's what they were. Okay, so now we're back on track. So he's going to get a +1 DRM on his roll. Except it's actually their turn. So -1 D. Let me re-roll this. All right, it's a 3. So he gets. This is Jimmy Black. He's an E. An E with a 3 against an A is 2. So it's 53-44. Now we're gonna. These will cancel out. This is a minus. That's a plus. They cancel out. So we're just rolling. For Sleepy Floyd, he's a C. He rolls a 3. That's 5 points. So it's 53-49. Now what it says is that you add 25 points to the scores. So that would make it 78 to 74. So that's your final score. 78-74, unless I screwed up my math, which is possible. Regardless, North Carolina wins the game. It was close. Hopefully you get the gist of how this game plays. I kind of didn't do everything correctly. I didn't write down the scores, which I should have done. We didn't really see a lot of some of the other stuff like coaching moves. You can use coaching moves to play other cards and things, and I didn't really do any of that. But you should have gotten an idea of how the game plays, which was the whole purpose of this to begin with. So hopefully that made sense. I'm sorry I was a little out of focus there, but sometimes I put my hand in here and it makes it change focus on us. So that is going to do it. Thanks for watching. As always, I appreciate you guys checking this out. Please consider liking, sharing, and/or subscribing. If you are a subscriber, thank you very much. But that will do it. My name is Joe. This has been Hexed Encountered. And until next time, happy gaming.